Marcus thought losing a $12 million inheritance was the worst thing his family could do to him. He was wrong, because moments after his brother inherited everything, the family lawyer asked Marcus one question. "Do you still have the keys?" Marcus didn't know it yet, but those keys were about to expose the one secret his family had spent years hiding. The lawyer finished reading the will. Then Marcus realized his brother had inherited almost everything. The mansion, the family business, the investment accounts, a fortune worth nearly $12 million. And Marcus? Nothing that mattered. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then his brother, Daniel, leaned back in his chair with a faint smile. Dad knew who was capable of carrying the family forward. Marcus looked at him. He didn't argue. That was what made Daniel smile even more. For years, Marcus had been treated like the disappointing son. Daniel was the businessman. Daniel was the responsible one. Daniel was the son their father trusted. Marcus had stopped trying to prove otherwise. But there was one thing Daniel didn't know. Their father had called Marcus 3 nights before he died. The conversation had lasted less than 5 minutes. And before hanging up, his father had said something Marcus still couldn't understand. "If they give you nothing, don't fight them." Marcus had asked why. His father had simply replied, "Because what belongs to you isn't in the will." Now, sitting inside the family attorney's office, Marcus remembered those words. But he had assumed they were the final thoughts of a dying man. Until the lawyer closed the folder. Everyone began to leave. Daniel was already talking about moving into the mansion. His mother was congratulating him. Nobody even looked at Marcus. Then, "Marcus." The lawyer's voice stopped him. Marcus turned. The lawyer wasn't smiling anymore. "There's one thing I need to ask you." Marcus waited. The lawyer glanced toward Daniel, then back at Marcus. "Do you still have the keys your father gave you?" Marcus froze. His hand slowly moved toward his coat pocket. He hadn't thought about those keys in years, but he still had them. And suddenly, the $12 million inheritance didn't seem like the most important thing in the room. Because if his father had been telling the truth, Marcus hadn't been left out of the inheritance. He had been left out of the part his family was never supposed to know existed. Marcus didn't sleep that night. He kept the 3 keys on the table in front of him. The smallest one meant nothing. The second had no markings, but the oldest key had one number beneath it. 17. By morning, Marcus had remembered something he hadn't thought about since childhood. His father's old warehouse. Building 17. It had been officially closed for years, but nobody had ever bothered to clear it completely. Marcus drove there alone. The building stood behind the family's original manufacturing plant, half hidden by overgrown trees and rusted fencing. Nobody used it anymore. At least, that's what Marcus had always been told. He found the old entrance. The lock was almost completely covered with dust. Then he looked at the key. 17. It fit. The lock clicked. Marcus pushed the door open. Inside, the air smelled of dust, metal, and old paper. There were no machines, no money, no hidden safe, just rows of abandoned shelves. Marcus almost laughed. After everything his father had said, this was it? Then he noticed something strange. Every shelf was empty except one, and on that shelf sat a single black box. Marcus walked toward it. There was no lock. Only his father's handwriting. For Marcus. He opened the box. Inside were photographs, old contracts, company records, and a small envelope marked, "Do not give this to Daniel." Marcus stared at the words. His brother's name had never appeared in his father's instructions before. He opened the envelope. The first page was a copy of a company agreement dated 12 years earlier. Marcus read the first paragraph, then stopped. The document stated that a major portion of the company's original business rights had been placed under an ownership arrangement that did not belong to Daniel. or their father. Marcus read the page again. His hands tightened around it. Then he saw the name attached to the arrangement. Marcus Reed. For 12 years, Marcus had believed his father had chosen Daniel because Daniel was the son he trusted. But this document suggested something completely different. His father hadn't trusted Daniel with everything. He had deliberately hidden something under Marcus's name. Then Marcus turned the page and found a handwritten note. Only 6 words. They will come for this eventually. Marcus looked toward the dark warehouse entrance. Suddenly, the empty building didn't feel empty anymore, because someone had known this secret was here, and someone else might already know Marcus had found it. Marcus slowly pulled the keys from his pocket. There were 3 of them, old brass, heavy, and almost completely forgotten. The lawyer stared at them for several seconds. Then he asked, "Did your father ever tell you what these were for?" Marcus shook his head. "No." The lawyer exhaled. "That's what I was afraid of." Marcus looked toward him. "What does that mean?" The lawyer closed the office door. Daniel had already left, but the lawyer didn't look relieved. He looked cautious. "Your father gave me very specific instructions." Marcus waited. "He told me that if your brother inherited the estate, I was to give you one message." Marcus glanced at the keys. "What message?" The lawyer reached into his briefcase and removed a sealed envelope. It had Marcus's name written across the front. But there was something strange about it. The envelope had been dated almost 3 years earlier. Marcus stared at it. "Why would my father prepare this years ago?" The lawyer didn't answer immediately. Instead, he said, "Because your father knew exactly what would happen when he died." Marcus opened the envelope. Inside was a single handwritten note. Only 2 sentences. "Do not fight your brother for what he receives. Use the keys when they come looking for what they think is theirs." Marcus read it twice, then a 3rd time. His expression changed. "They?" The lawyer nodded. "That word bothered me too." Marcus looked up. "You said my father gave you instructions. What else did he tell you?" The lawyer hesitated. "Nothing I was permitted to tell you yet." Marcus frowned. "Yet?" The lawyer looked directly at him. "Your father included a condition." "What condition?" The lawyer pushed another document across the desk. "You have to find what the keys open before I can tell you the rest." Marcus stared at the document. For the first time, he understood something. His father hadn't forgotten him. He had planned for this moment, and suddenly, Marcus wasn't wondering why he had received nothing. He was wondering why his father had made sure he received the keys. Then Marcus noticed something he hadn't seen before. There was a tiny number engraved beneath the oldest key. 17. The lawyer saw him looking at it, and for the first time that night, his expression changed. "Your father told me never to let you use that key alone." Marcus looked at him. "Why?" The lawyer's answer was almost a whisper. "Because whatever is behind that door, your brother has been trying to find it for years." Marcus heard the warehouse door close behind him. He turned. A man stood in the entrance. Not Daniel, not the lawyer. Someone Marcus had never seen before. The man looked at the black box in Marcus's hands. Then he said, "You found it?" Marcus didn't answer. The man stepped closer. "Your father was very good at hiding things." Marcus tightened his grip on the documents. "Who are you?" The man ignored the question. Instead, he looked toward the envelope marked with Daniel's name. "Did he leave you the agreement?" Marcus's expression changed. "How do you know about that?" The man smiled faintly. "Because your brother has been looking for it for years." Marcus felt his stomach tighten. "You work for Daniel?" "No." The answer came too quickly. The man reached into his coat and placed an old photograph on the table. Marcus recognized the people immediately. His father, Daniel, and the same man standing in front of him. The photograph had been taken 12 years earlier. The same year Marcus had been pushed away from the family business. Marcus looked at the date, then at the man. What happened 12 years ago? For the first time, the man's expression became serious. Your father discovered someone inside the family was trying to take what wasn't theirs. Marcus looked down at the agreement. Who? The man didn't answer. Instead, he pointed toward the black box. Your father didn't hide those rights because they were valuable. Marcus looked up. Then why? The man paused. Because whoever controlled them could control more than the company. Before Marcus could ask another question, the warehouse lights suddenly went out. The man whispered, "They found you." And somewhere outside, a car door slammed. The warehouse remained dark. Marcus could hear footsteps outside. The stranger looked at him. Your father knew this day would come. Marcus held up the agreement. Then tell me why he put this under my name. The man was silent for a moment. Because 12 years ago, your father discovered what Daniel was willing to do to get control of the company. Marcus's jaw tightened. What did he do? Your brother tried to take control of what your father had protected. Marcus looked at the photograph again. Daniel was standing beside their father, smiling, as if nothing had happened. The stranger continued. Your father stopped him. Marcus stared at him. Why didn't he tell me? Because you would have confronted Daniel. Marcus said nothing. And your father knew exactly what Daniel would do if he realized you were the one protecting it. Another sound came from outside, closer this time. Marcus looked toward the door. So my father made me look like the son who got nothing. The stranger nodded. He wanted Daniel to believe you were powerless. Marcus looked down at the documents. For 12 years, Marcus had carried the humiliation of being the forgotten son. He had thought his father had chosen Daniel, but the truth was harder. His father had chosen Marcus because he trusted him not to use power against his own family. Then the stranger pointed to the final page. There's one thing you haven't seen. Marcus turned the page. At the bottom was his father's signature, and beneath it, one final instruction. If Marcus ever discovers the truth, the decision is his. Marcus stared at those words. The stranger stepped back. Your father never wanted you to destroy your brother. Marcus looked toward the door. He wanted you to decide what your brother deserved. The footsteps stopped outside the warehouse. Marcus looked at the stranger. What happens if I give them the agreement? They take control of everything your father protected. And if I keep it? They'll come after you. Marcus looked at the black box. For years, his family had made him feel powerless. His brother had taken the inheritance. His family had taken his place at the table. And now, for the first time, Marcus held something they desperately wanted. He could use it to destroy Daniel. He could expose every secret. He could take the company away from the family that had treated him like he didn't matter. But Marcus remembered his father's final words. The decision is yours. Marcus closed the box. I won't give it to Daniel. The stranger nodded. Marcus continued, but I'm not destroying the company either. He picked up the agreement. I'm going to make the truth public. The warehouse door opened. Daniel stood there. His face had lost the confidence Marcus had seen that morning. Marcus. Marcus looked at his brother. For 12 years you thought I had nothing. He held up the agreement. You were wrong. Daniel stared at the document. Marcus didn't smile. He didn't threaten him. He simply said, you wanted what our father protected from you. A pause. Now everyone is going to know why. For the first time in his life, Marcus wasn't fighting to prove his worth. He didn't need to. His father's trust had already answered that question. And the brother who had inherited $12 million was about to discover that money was never the most valuable thing his father left behind. Marcus didn't inherit the biggest fortune. He inherited something more valuable. His father's trust. And this time, he chose what to do with it. This is Revenge Diary. Would you have chosen truth over revenge? Comment truth or revenge.